Namaskar, Namaskar, greetings, salam, sat sri akal, shalom. Good evening to all of you. My name is Irfan Malik. I'm the Australia-India Business Council President of New South Wales chapter. It's indeed a pleasure and honor to be presenting this beautiful session on a special day all the way from Australia and globally that people are connected today. Thank you again. Thank you, Vishal and Jabs Films, Jabbar, for the impressive intro video that you've put together, which truly showcases reflecting on the spirit of this special day that we are celebrating across Australia and India. I want to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land that we have gathered from today. I also acknowledge that we live on the lands of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. I want to thank and acknowledge National Australia Day Council and the Australia-India Business Council leadership team, all my colleagues at AIBC who work together tirelessly in spite of all the challenges that we are all facing across board to put together this an amazingly curated, impactful evening of a session together today. I want to welcome you all the government dignitaries, the business leaders across Australia and India, the AIBC leadership, members of AIBC, all our ecosystem partners, our partner organizations across Australia and India, and all of you who are attending this evening's session, which is an amazing, which commemorates an amazing outcomes for both Australia and India. What an important day that we have today, Australia and India, to come together, to connect, reflect, and share our shared vision to shape our future together. My reflection of Republic Day growing up in Delhi in India was always about the passion that it used to ignite of the true reflection of unity and diversity, the whole cultural, multicultural fabric of India. And being in Australia for the last 20 plus years, I feel I'm truly blessed to have the multicultural fabric of Australian society, which has indeed been a blessing. And it's a great honor for me to share this occasion with you all today. The core theme of today's evening and also Australia-India Business Council is people to people connect to enable business to business outcomes and impact. And that's something which will be showcased right through today's sessions as you will experience. I want to reflect on the enormous amount of bilateral opportunities across multiple sectors that Australia-India is working on, and never before has Australia-India been so closer and this level of activity that's been experienced before. I want to also introduce the SMILES framework. Whenever there is bilateral opportunity, there's been focus on SMLE segment, but we have a proposition of a SMILES framework, which is SMILES, which also recognizes small, medium scale, large enterprises, but also indigenous businesses at the core, and also startups as well. So definitely you will hear and see a lot more as we work through the rest of the year ahead, but also in this session about indigenous businesses and startups with the intent to have an outreach to engage them as well, part of the bilateral opportunities. There's a strong focus on indigenous business collaboration and support, and I'm pleased to have some of the indigenous business leaders today with us, and I want to especially thank and acknowledge them. I will also want to introduce that we are launching a contest today on the occasion of Australia Day and Indian Republic Day, which is titled again on the theme People to People Connect to enable and deliver on business to business impact. So do check it out. We will share the links and we will share the messages and for you to share your own story and your own aspirations and vision as we shape together the Australia-India bilateral success story. And there are wonderful prizes as well for the contest. Wishing you all a great evening today, and thank you for joining again. And to take this journey today through along for this amazingly curated event, I've got an amazing co-host, Indu Balachandran. I want to introduce Indu, who's part of our AIBC New South Wales leadership team, the management committee. She comes with a strong focus on innovation and leadership in Indigenous arts and community development sectors. She's been recognized by the UTS Human Rights Award for Reconciliation. She brings a lot of strong focus on Indigenous and Aboriginal housing and experience in the art and culture space. She's a cultural producer and performer of Indian Carnatic tradition and holds a Master of Economics in Social Science and Research. She's an avid researcher and is into quite a lot of research papers and is a true reflection of Australia, India, and a focus on Indigenous opportunity as well. So let me welcome Indu on board to be my co-host for this evening and take this journey together. Thank you, Indu. Welcome.
Thank you, Irfan. I'm delighted to be here today. And I'd also like to acknowledge I'm calling in from Darraglands and pay my respects to Darug elders today. The first thing we need to do, of course, is to introduce Stephen Coghill, who is an Aboriginal elder and a traditional owner of the Yagara people. He is an elder amongst his clan groups. He's grown up in Southeast Queensland and continues to maintain his connections to country and continues to live in Southeast Queensland. So may I please welcome Stephen Coghill to do a welcome to country today. Over to you.
Thank you, Indu. I trust everyone can hear me at this moment. Yep. All right, good evening, everyone, and let me acknowledge the distinguished guests online here this afternoon. As Indu said, my name is Stephen Coghill. I'm from Southeast Queensland, traditional owner. I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate the Australia-India Business Association and their staff and their support for this event and celebrating this occasion, and also for the incorporation of the Aboriginal Indigenous perspective in this greeting of the country. So thank you all. Just a little explanation and to let people know what the greeting on country is and about. And it was used in significant and solemn occasions, such as today's celebration event. So I thought how appropriate of the Australia Indigenous Business India Business Association to include the greeting on this Australia Survival Day. So Australia Day in this country is known by a couple of headings: Survival Day, Australia Day, and also Invasion Day. I call it Australia Survival Day. So my connection to country, as India has indicated, to this country is through my great-great-grandfathers, who were born not far from where I was born in Brisbane. They're probably about 2 or 3 kilometres from where he was born, I was born. And I live, work and socialise in the same places as my grandfathers did. Our ancestors have given us a traditional and custodial attachment and responsibility to Southeast Queensland. So that's a little bit of background information. I want to talk a little bit about, I'd like to take this opportunity to share truth and history of the land that is now known as Australia. Now, while the narrative might not be great at this time, it's improving. So I just want to tell the truth and be as open as possible. As many people will be aware, this country was occupied by non-Indigenous people without consultation, consent, or consensus with First Nation owners. That's the truth and that's a fact. A direct result of the non-Indigenous occupation was dispossession, displacement, and despair. While the impacts of the occupation failed to recognise First Nations people's sovereignty and led to the disruption and interruption of Indigenous society, it has built a unity and resilience of our peoples that will endure until our sovereignty is recognised and beyond. Whatever, Indigenous people have remained loyal to Australia and her peoples and have indeed integrated significantly into Australian society, while maintaining our own status, protocols and values. First Nations people have fought in all the wars of Australia with foreign enemies, and has and will be and will continue to do so in defence and protection of their lands, of our lands, our joint lands. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people have been involved in the economic development of this nation and continues to explore opportunities to improve the position of our economic outcomes. Indigenous people are always exploring prospects of political, economic and cultural integrity. So, however, Indigenous people have never and never will give up the aspirations for a better life for their people and all people of Australia. There is a newly formed Aboriginal Indigenous political party that is running candidates in the next federal election to hopefully address some of these issues and better represent Indigenous people at a political level, at a higher political level. Eventually, though, through various avenues, our God-given sovereignty will be recognised, and we will open the doors, and it will open doors to true equality in this country and make it a better place for all our children. I'd just like to say some words now in Yuggera to assist in the greeting that I'm performing this afternoon. I'll say it in Yuggera and then I'll interpret it back in English. Yawa Yuangan, Karamba Biran Nagambli, Balkana Yuggera Jarana, Karamba Naguru Nagambli, Balka Nagambi Yuggera Jarana. And this means in English, good day to you all. Greetings from our Yuggera country. Great Spirit, God bless you all. Greetings on all our Yuggera land. And I'd like to thank the organisers and Nick for inviting me on to present this greeting. And I'd just like to finish off this narrative by saying, always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I couldn't unmute myself. Thank you very much, Stephen, for the welcome and also for your address, which really does set the scene and sets the scene about the meaning of this day to the First Peoples of Australia, and very important when we're talking about building relationships that will lead to strong economic and cultural and social outcomes. So thank you again very much. We will now move to our next speaker, who is Jim Verghese, who's the chair of the Australia-India Business Council. Jim has many, many years experience and leadership in government in Victoria and Queensland in a number of sectors: transport, education, training, and many more. He is the chairman and owner of the leadership company Queensland Proprietary Limited, as well as the director of the Springfield Land Corporation. He has led AIBC for many years very successfully and has had a long international career with trade missions and the public and private sector. It doesn't say here, but Jim was recently appointed as Chancellor of Torrens University. So very pleased to invite Jim to say a few words next.
Thanks very much for that introduction. And can I also, in the spirit of reconciliation, on behalf of the AIBC, acknowledge the traditional custodians of the country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. And I join in paying respect to the elders past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. Can I also in this context, acknowledge Steve Kogel, who's made a great contribution there in Queensland, and also Florence Drummond, who's our first elected Indigenous Executive Committee member from Western Australia, and all our Indigenous representatives here today. And also acknowledge Irfan Malik, the President of the AIBC New South Wales, Nick Senapathy, the President of Queensland, and of course our great host chair, Indu Balachandran. And on that note, I put in context that welcome to all of you today for Australia Day, Survival Day. Each year, India, of course, celebrates three principal national festivals: Republic Day, which is today, January the 26th, Independence Day on August the 15th, and Gandhi Jayanti on October the 2nd. AIBC actively involves itself in these three to bring in the Australia-India connection much better. So we were established in 1986 to be an active voice involved in policy and advocacy roles to promote and enhance the bilateral Australia-India relationship, as well as provide education and information about Australia-India trade-related activities. We maintain a close relationship with stakeholders, including the Government of India, the Government of Australia at the state and federal level, and industry. We have chapters in every state and the Australian Capital Territory, which are headed by active and highly motivated presidents and chapter members, as you can see here today. Every president is also a director of the board of AIBC Limited, which is headed up by the National Chair and Vice Chair, who are elected by all members of the AIBC. The board also appoints a National Treasurer and an additional director of the board, supported by legally qualified company secretary and a non-voting director from AIBC in India, AIBC director in India. Now, 3 years ago, we established a very important initiative in creating national industry chairs so that we can connect specifically with bilateral Indian industry issues. So we've used that to really strengthen the relationship. And we have a unique business council. Our policy framework is broadly based on the India Economic Strategy to 2035, Navigating Potential Delivery, by Peter Verghese, who did that report. And of course, the response by His Excellency Anil Wadhwa, the equivalent response from the Government of India. And I'd like at this time, particularly to acknowledge the difficult times faced by businesses, and indeed all of us, due to the COVID-19 pandemic restrictions and economic fallout. Going forward, AIBC will continue to work towards building stronger platforms in facilitating and nurturing growth opportunities for business and investment between Australia and India. In fact, we've held over 60 webinars in the last year or so just to get this message across. We are looking also at valuing our partners to sponsor high-level webinars, and we have strengthening our partners with, for example, the Confederation of Indian Industry, known as CIDLI, the Federation of India's Chambers of Commerce and Industry, known as FICCI, the Australia Indo-Business Chamber, and Invest India. And in Australia, we value our partnership opportunities with the Business Council of Australia and the Export Council of Australia. We continue to strengthen our relationships with federal, state, and local government agencies in both Australia and India. I'm very encouraged with the high quality of our national chapter chairs in key areas of trade investment, and will incorporate any strategic responses that we pick up from the Government of India and the Government of Australia. We have a national chair email hotline for feedback and business-focused suggestions. We have industry chapter chairs now across state and territories, and just some areas that they're very involved with is agribusiness, corporate and investment, education and skills development, financial services, healthcare, information and communications technology and digital, Make in India, renewable energy, resources, infrastructure, small and medium business enterprises, startup and innovation, women in business, young business leaders, sports, members benefits, defense and security. We also have national advisors for export and investment, ICT and partnerships. So we look forward to delivering program of events using digital platforms like today and social media, and working in conjunction with our industry chapters. We are re-energizing our digital platform and aligning it to maximize our facilitation of the comprehensive strategic partnership between India and Australia that was signed on the 4th of June 2020 in the virtual summit. At the end of the day, we have a very simple KPI. What have we done to increase the trade and investment between Australia and India? And we have launched AIBC Business Enterprises. It's up and running to provide an effective platform to deliver business-to-business outcomes on the ground. And in my concluding comments, can I say that the AIBC welcomes more involvement from Australians of non-Indian diaspora origin, Indigenous, and of course, non-Indian diaspora like Michael Carter, for example, from Western Australia, who in our succession planning initiative is moving to look to becoming a national chair like myself. And of course, Ravneet Pava, who is in both Victoria and India, look forward to being a national vice chair. And this succession planning is part of our ability to be able to provide stability and forward looking. And I have every hope and confidence that they'll be elected when the elections take place in August. We look forward to working collaboratively with any person's organization that supports our business objectives and outcomes, especially our industry chapters. I look forward to working with you to increase and enhance the business-to-business relationship between the states, territories of Australia and the states of India. So I conclude by saying, Happy India Day, Happy Australia Day, Happy Australia Survival Day. Namaste, Namaskaram.
Thank you, Jim, for your wonderful words, background, and also sparking off and setting the tone for what AIBC stands for and our aspirations to take the bilateral relationship and impact that we are looking to create as well. And thanks for your inspirational leadership as we take AIBC to the next horizon. Thank you, Jim, again. As we continue with the formal proceedings of this evening, we will kick off the proceedings with the national anthems of Australia and India, reflecting and recognizing the Australia Day, as well as the Indian Republic Day being today, the Jan 26th. For this purpose, I'm really pleased to have a true Australian Indian or Australian of Indian origin, Janaki Ishwar, I would say a child prodigy who was, he was one of the most well-decorated Australian of Indian origin. And I also want to thank her parents as well, Anup and Divya, who migrated from Kerala, India, which is obviously my home state in India as well, in 2007. And she's obviously been trained with both Indian classical as well as Western classical music. And she was one of the most decorated and someone very impressive with amazing voice. And of course, truly, she was recognized at the last series of The Voice just last year. And she's the first from the Indian community to get to that competition. So she's truly decorated, someone we're proud of. And it's great honor and privilege to have her sing both the national anthems of Australia and India. So let's hear the national anthems and then we continue the journey today. Thank you.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are young and free, with golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is girt by sea, our land abounds in nature's gift of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australian fair. In joyful strains, then let us sing, advance Australian fair. Beneath the radiant Southern Cross, we'll toil with hearts and hands to make this commonwealth of ours renowned of all the land. For those who've come across the seas with boundless plains to share, with courage let us all combine to advance Australian fair. हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Thank you, Janaki, again for your wonderful rendering there for both Australian and Indian national anthem. And we appreciate you being one of our icons of Australian Indian community, as we believe that youth is going to take and youth are going to take our relationship between Australia and India forward much more with more vibrance and stronger. So thank you again, Janaki, being for one of our icons. As we continue this journey, I want to invite and welcome our CGI Sydney, Mr. Manish Gupta, to share his message. Mr. Manish Gupta, who's been the Consul General of India, Sydney, for the last couple of years here. He's a career diplomat and member of Indian Foreign Service, and he's held various positions in New Delhi and abroad. He has served in Ministry of External Affairs as a Joint Secretary and for Overseas Indian Affairs before he joined us here in Sydney. He's served several positions overseas, and he's a strong advocate and big supporter of Australia-India Business Council, and someone who's a strong advocate to create impact for business-to-business outcome and really leveraging the communities and people to connect as well. So let's hear from Mr. Manish Gupta. Thank you.
Dear friends, I would like to express my warm greetings to all of you on the occasion of Republic Day and Australia Day. Many thanks to AIBC for organizing this special event. Indeed, this year holds a very special significance for us in India, for the Indian Australian community and our Australian friends. As you know, later this year, India will be celebrating its 75th anniversary of independence. We are celebrating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. This Republic Day therefore holds a very special place for all of us. When it comes to India-Australia ties, we often talk about cricket, Commonwealth and curry. Indeed, the last year trending buzzwords on Google search was India versus Australia. And of course, the theatre was cricket. But our ties are far, far deeper. We are societies that promote and nurture diversity. Our bilateral ties have gone from strength to strength. The comprehensive strategic partnership between our two countries is indicative of a broad-based relationship and a vision for our future growth. The high-level exchanges, regular interactions between our prime ministers are indicative of this intent. There is determination of both the governments to conclude an interim trade agreement very soon and comprehensive economic cooperation agreement by the end of the year. This offers valuable opportunities to both Indian and Australian businesses. Indian market, as you know, is very big. As Indian economy surges ahead, it offers huge opportunities for Australian businesses to play a long innings in India. Australia-India Business Council is the premier vehicle. You have a long history of 35 years. You are best placed to bring Indian and Australian businesses together. I'm confident this year, as situation improves for the better, we will have high-level business exchanges, visits of ministerial delegations, and coming together of a business and trade fraternity. Let me wish all of you again all the best for the Republic Day and Australia Day festivities. As situation turns for the better, I am confident that we will have a chance to see you face to face in person very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Manish Gupta ji, for being wonderful advocate for Australia-India Business Council and truly our bilateral opportunities. And together we look forward to creating business impact as we progress through this year and a year ahead. Now, just continuing further, I want to invite our Honorary Consul of India, Brisbane, Mrs. Archana Singh, to convey her message for this occasion. Thank you. And Mrs. Archana Singh, she was born in Ajmer, India, and she was part of Lady Shri Ram College, which is one of the premier institutions out of Delhi. And she also holds a degree of Bachelor's of Law from QUT Brisbane. She was appointed the Honorary Consul of India for Queensland in November 2011. And she's a strong advocate for a healthy, vibrant, multicultural society. And she's really passionate about creating Australia-India business success stories as well. So let's hear her message.
Namaste. I welcome you all to this very special Republic Day in the 75th year of India's independence, Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, and to the celebration of all that makes Australia a great nation. India's engagement with Republican ideals has had a long tradition, going back to antiquity. After breaking the chains of colonial rule, independent India embraced those ideals yet again. Equality, fraternity, liberty, and fundamental rights and freedoms, a strong enterprising spirit, and a high value placed on education have imparted to the modern Indian Republic a vibrance and energy that is unequaled. Modern India can be justly proud of her achievements, reveling in her history and glorious past, and also of her pride of place in the world today. As time goes on, the shared values and the shared commitment to liberal democratic ideals bring Australia and India even closer. We are natural partners, be it on the cricket field or in the field of trade and commerce. This affinity has seen a big boost in the bilateral relationship across all sectors, including trade. I acknowledge the great work that has been done by all on both sides, whether they be organizations or individuals. I also acknowledge the determination and the vision demonstrated by the Australia-India Business Council in this journey and look forward to the future as the possibilities are limitless. Members of the Indian diaspora and Indian businesses who now call Queensland home must be congratulated for their contribution to our robust society. They're increasingly making a mark and stand shoulder to shoulder with fellow Queenslanders in time of need. We are an integral part of the multicultural fabric of the state and stand committed to the ideals of democracy, freedom, and respect for all. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Mrs. Singh, for sharing those insightful words and inspiration as well. And we look forward to closely working with you and your organization as well to take some of these plans and initiatives forward. Thank you again. As we've heard from the heads of consulates here in Sydney and Brisbane, switching over to India, our Australian consulate missions in India, they play a critical role, and they have really helped us create this bridge story as well between Australia and India. And I'm pleased to have Ms. Sarah Curlew, the Consul General of Australia in India in Chennai, who's taken over this role just last year, but she's been playing an enormous impactful role creating that bridge. She's a career officer with the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. She has previously served overseas in Beijing, New Delhi, and Cairo. And in Canberra, she has worked in a range of Indo-Pacific focused foreign and economic policy roles. She holds a Master of Public Policy and Management from the University of London and a Bachelor of Arts from the University of Sydney, a great supporter of Australia-India Business Council, as well as the bilateral trade and investment opportunities that we are creating a story together. Thank you, Sarah, for coming on board. And let's hear Sarah's message here. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Sarah Curlew, the Australian Consul General for South India, based in Chennai. It's my pleasure to send my Republic Day and Australia Day best wishes to the Australia-India Business Council New South Wales chapter in my beautiful home city of Sydney. I understand the theme for your celebrations is People to People Connect to enable business-to-business outcomes. Our shared National Day is just one of the many wonderful connections Australia has with India. This, of course, is a particularly momentous day for India as it celebrates its 75th anniversary of independence. While at home, Australia Day is a time to reflect, respect, and celebrate the story of Australia and Australians, from our strong Indigenous and First Nations heritage to those who came in the waves of migration that followed, including from our newest citizens, so many of whom have come from India. The elevation of the Australia-India bilateral relationship to a comprehensive strategic partnership reflects the strategic connection we find in our values and interests in a rapidly changing world. On the trade and economic front, New South Wales and its businesses are strongly represented here in South India. Over the course of my tenure, which began about a year ago, I've had the pleasure to visit or meet with representatives from Atlassian, Cochlear, Callington, Macquarie and Synapse, to name just a few, as well as meeting with Indian companies with a large investment presence in New South Wales. I was therefore pleased to hear that New South Wales will also be appointing a local trade commissioner in Bengaluru, joining our growing presence there, with the trade office now headed by an Australian diplomat and soon to be upgraded to a full consulate general. And it wouldn't be a speech about Australia-India relations if I didn't mention the connecting power of sport. For our Australia Day virtual function here in Chennai this year, we are celebrating sport's importance as a vehicle for the empowerment of women. Please do join us tomorrow on the 27th of January, when we'll be tuning in from home to watch the Asian Football Women's World Cup match between the mighty Australian women's team, the Matildas, and Thailand. We're even running a competition for the best green and gold outfit. My thanks to Irfan Malik and the rest of the AIBC New South Wales Organising Committee for giving me the opportunity to address you tonight. And once again, Happy Australia Day and Happy Republic Day.
Thank you, Sarah, for those great words and also support for Australian India Business Council as we continue to create impact bilaterally. Thank you again, Sarah. As we move on, I want to invite Honorable Julian Leeser, MP, the federal member of parliament from Berowra, who's been a great supporter of the Indian community broadly and also of Australia-India Business Council, someone who's a strong advocate, and he's a chair of the Joint Standing Committee on Migration, chair of Standing Committee on Indigenous Affairs, and most importantly, chair of Parliamentary Friends of India. He's a true friend of Australia-India bilateral ties. I'm pleased to have him to be my local member of parliament as well, and also a politician, but beyond that, he's a community leader who believes in Australia-India strong ties. So let me welcome Julian to give his message on this occasion.
Namaste, मेरा नाम Julian है, मैं बराड़ लोकसभा क्षेत्र का सांसद हूँ. Hello, my name's Julian Leeser and I'm the federal member for Berowra. Let me acknowledge Irfan Malik and everybody else at the Australia-India Business Council in wishing you all a very happy Republic Day. As somebody who loves his constitutions, I'm delighted that India has as one of its key national days a day to celebrate the 73rd anniversary of the coming into force of their constitution. It's a day that India also shares with Australia as a significant national day, with Australia Day and Republic Day being exactly the same day. The Indian Constitution is a reminder of one of the key pillars of our relationship, that we are both democracies, that we both believe in the rule of law, that we both believe in the rules-based international order. And this is becoming an increasingly important feature of our international strategic engagement and our comprehensive strategic partnership that was signed by Scott Morrison and Narendra Modi only a couple of years ago. Our relationship as countries is going from strength to strength. We know through the Quad, we know through our broader engagements on maritime matters how important India is as a partner for Australia. But what I'm most looking forward to, and this will be particularly of interest to the AIBC, is the prospect of a free trade agreement with India. I look forward to seeing India becoming one of Australia's key trading partners as well. Let me take this opportunity to wish you all a very happy Republic Day. I'm proud to represent a wonderful Indian constituency in the electorate of Barara. I'm delighted we have over 700,000 Australians of Indian origin. As I always say, Al adik ki kamna katuhun, I wish I had more. Happy Republic Day, happy Australia Day, and all the best to you.
Thank you, Julian, again for those wonderful words. And hearing you speak Hindi, I think it's an inspiration for all of us, I guess, to really cherish this Australia-India relationship, and also the real passion that we want to make this truly successful between Australia and India. Thank you again, Julian, for being an inspiration of our community and our leadership here and representing the federal government here. Thank you. On that note, I welcome our strong partner and ally here, Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and Trudy, who is the director of New South Wales State Office for DFAT. She's indeed a great partner and strong supporter for Australia Business Council, and someone who's really actively involved in facilitating some of these trade and investment outcomes between Australia and India. She is been the first Assistant Secretary, Regional Trade Agreements Division in DFAT, and has held several positions across DFAT, and also served as Australia's Deputy Permanent Representative to World Trade Organization in Geneva. She's been a great advocate for AIBC and a big supporter, and we look forward to closely working with Trudy as we create this impact going forward. Thank you, Trudy. Over to you for your message.
Hello everyone, and thank you to the Australia-India Business Council for this opportunity to celebrate Australia Day with you all virtually. My name is Trudy Whitbrook, and I am the New South Wales State Director for the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. Australia Day is a day to reflect on what it means to be Australian, to celebrate contemporary Australia and to acknowledge our history. For over 60,000 years, Indigenous Australians have been the custodians of our beautiful land and waterway. We aspire, all of us, to an Australia Day that includes all Australians and recognises the fundamental role that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders have in our nation's history, its present and its future. Australia Day is also an opportunity to celebrate the contribution of diaspora communities to Australia's modern multicultural character. And with 1 in 50 Australians born in India, it goes without saying that the Australia-India community in particular plays an indispensable role in modern Australia, and I have the personal privilege here in Sydney to engage with many of you. So today we acknowledge our history, we celebrate our nation, its achievements, and most of all, its people. I wish you all a very happy Australia Day, a happy Indian Republic Day, and all the best for the rest of this event. Thank you.
Thank you, Trudy, for that very welcoming speech. DFAT is a very important partner to the work of the AIBC, and it is great to have Trudy speak today. Trudy also spoke about the Indian diaspora being 1 in 50, and I remember at the last census we became the fastest growing diaspora community in Australia. So we are a growing force in this nation. I'd like to now welcome a performance that we arranged through Kumari Entertainment. Kumari delights in sharing Aboriginal culture through the arts and entertainment events with guests, international and Australian people. They are an Aboriginal-owned cultural education business, and they take great pride in delivering world-class performances, workshops, art installations, and various other programs to bring Aboriginal culture to wider society in Australia and overseas. They have put together a really wonderful performance today by a didgeridoo artist, and I will hand over to the artist to talk us through his performance and share this wonderful instrument with us.
Yama, wajibalo dumko diani panjalang komroy. Na wajibalo dumko diani panjalang komroy jana eulogy. Thank you, welcome. My name is Wajibalo Dumko Diani Panjalang Komroy. Today we're going to share the great spirit of peace and reconciliation. I'm going to be playing my didgeridoo for you all to share the great spirit of Australia Day 2022, also the Indian Republic Day. So we want to come together, going to create this fire for that spirit of peace and reconciliation, so we can all remember such a beautiful day. And by me lighting this fire, the Jari Wamba, that we allowing the ancestors to come down and travel and share the great spirit of peace. And today I'm going to share some of the unique sounds of didgeridoo, the oldest wood instrument in the world. Like this fire here. We believe when we do that smoke, it chase out the bad spirit, and we bring in the good spirit by traditional song, ceremony. So we like to acknowledge our elders past and present, and also I'd like to acknowledge the New South Wales India Council, Business Council, for inviting us here today to share in this wonderful day of celebration. For us in Australia, 2022 Australia Survival Day, Australia Day, India Republic Day. Let's all come together today and share the great spirit of peace and reconciliation. This one is called Karunagamene, the blessings. May this holy smoke share in the spirit of peace and reconciliation, for I'm sitting here today on the traditional lands of my ancestors. May this happen today, in the ceremony of the smoke travel for everywhere today where you are today. We all come together, and we all come together and celebrate that one spirit of life. Garo nagamini wandi wa chichena yalanga tari tanjana yalanga tari na. Welcome. Wandi wa chichena yalanga tari tanjana yalanga tari na. Welcome. My name is Wajiwala Dungodiani Banlang Gumroy, and today I'm gonna share some information about this instrument I'm playing. It's called a yiriki, and a yiriki, or in common in the Western world they call it didgeridoo, but we call it yiriki. It is the oldest wood instrument in the world. I'm gonna give you a demonstration of how we play it. So the first buzzing sound, we get a rhythm that sounds like this. You get the buzz, this is the sound you'll get. If I use my voice box, I'll get a sound that represents a dingo. So I'm going to teach you a few of my animals, yeah? So this one is the sound of an Australian dingo. His best mate is a kangaroo. The snake. A little baby bird. The mopoke, he's a night owl. That's why we call him mopoke. He makes that noise. Boop, 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 boop. He's the night owl. Mopoke. Do you like fast food? In Australia, we call that one the emu. And the last one is the Australian laughing kookaburra bird. Google gaga, the kookaburra. Put it all together, and this is what it sounds like. Great sounds of Yidiki, or the great sounds of the didgeridoo. There you go. Some of the oldest sounds in the world, and it's called Yidiki. And why we call it didgeridoo? Because when we play, we actually say the word didgeridoo, didgeridoo. Have a quick listen to the word didgeridoo. There you go. Thank you very much. As I said, my name is Bajiwala Tunko Diani Banjalan Gumroy, and today, 2022, we are celebrating Australia Day here in Australia. Also for Aboriginal people, we call it Survival Day. And I'd just like to acknowledge your people, your spirit. We come together today on such a memorable day. It's India Republic Day, so congratulations. And you've got to stay strong, stay positive, and may all the love and power of peace all come together for reconciliation and a better understanding of the future. So on behalf of myself and all my people in Australia, we'd like to wish you all the best. Enjoy your day of remembrance and celebrate. Look after everybody, stay safe, and enjoy your beautiful festivals, the spirit of the day. Enjoy the family and the good spirit of peace. So once again, thank you so much. And in my language, I say yalu, and yalu means farewell. Farewell, my brothers and sisters. God bless, all the blessings, and take care. Yalu.
Well, I hope all of you kind of feel as content as I do after that extraordinary performance, and actually a bit of a cultural journey for all of us. You know, one of the things I've always marveled about through this pandemic is how technology has actually enabled certain ways of sharing culture and certain ways of all of us being here from different places around the world and around Australia, and being able to participate in listening to Aboriginal languages, multiple today, in hearing the didgeridoo, in understanding a little bit more about Aboriginal spirituality, and in also hearing of the stories of Aboriginal practices of connection to country. So thank you very much to Kumari and to the artists today for taking us on that extraordinary and wonderful journey. So next, I was asked to help set the scene today, given AIBC's intent to build engagement with First Nations peoples and businesses. Just a little bit more about myself. I'm a Tamil woman. I was born in Chennai. I grew up on Darug lands and still live on Darug lands. And I've been very fortunate to work with Aboriginal colleagues for some years, professionally and culturally. When I was thinking about what this day means, it really came to me that we in Australia come into this moment with different histories. And those of us who are of Indian origin are particularly equipped, I think, to consider the meaning of this day to us as Indians, as Australians, and as living very much on First Nations lands. It is the day India became a republic. It is the day that marks the arrival of the British to Australia. And it is the day that First Nations people have termed Survival Day. For First Nations people, it is a marker of a long history of past policies and practices which were designed to erase First Nations people and culture. The impact of this history is prevalent today, and we, as migrants, one of the fastest growing migrant groups in this country, have a role in this reckoning. A truthful reflection is critical to build the strong relationships that AIBC considers imperative to sustained and meaningful partnerships. For those of us who have experienced Republic Day in India, there is a palpable sense of the historic moment when the people of India became free to map their futures. It must have been a historic moment because 75 years later, we in Australia, many thousands of miles from our homeland, still celebrate that momentous occasion. As Mrs. Archana Singh said, it is the day India broke free of the chains of colonial rule. And let us take a moment to reflect and to consider the import of that for our First Nations people on Survival Day. I was speaking to my colleagues at the AIBC about locating shared futures with First Nations people on strong foundations, foundations of acknowledgement, truth, and a genuine intent to build long-term relationships, which we can all celebrate, hopefully, in 75 years from today. The Australia-India Business Council is here to promote business engagement across nations, very much through relationships between people. We hope today is a beginning of connecting Indian, Australian, and First Nations people who have a vision of collaboration that will lead to strong cultural, economic, and social outcomes. These shared dreams of strong futures start with conversations, at times uncomfortable, at times hopeful, on a day which is in itself a confluence of many, many stories. Having worked for many years in Indigenous businesses, in Indigenous social enterprises, and within and with Indigenous communities, I believe that Indian and Indigenous businesses must and will trade. We will trade goods and services, we will trade and share stories, and we will share cultural knowledge. And within all those, I think, will be the strongest shared future for this nation. So with that, I would like to introduce Mark Higgins, our next speaker, to share his knowledge of working in Aboriginal communities and in Aboriginal community economic development. Mark is Wiradjuri man and CEO of Community Resources, a non-profit social enterprise that runs a range of services in community services and employment and environmental services. It employs over 650 people, and many of our community resources staff experience barriers to employment. Mark is a people leader and has had many, many years of international experience, and also was a chief operating officer of Gunai Kurnai Land and Waters Aboriginal Corporation before he moved to Community Resources. I'd like to welcome Mark to say a few words to us today.
Thanks for that, Indu. Namaste. I'm not even going to try and go anywhere near Honourable Julian Lester's attempt, so that was very good. As Indu said, I'm a Wiradjuri fellow and from Western New South Wales out in Nyngan, and recently taken the position of CEO at Community Resources, where we're very lucky to have Indu as a co-chair. So it's a great introduction to here. So I'll talk a little bit about, first of all, today and what it means to us. And it's a very important day, obviously, for Indian people. As Indu said, 75 years later, it's still celebrating it here. And it's a lovely thing to celebrate. For most Aboriginal people, it's a day of conflict and turmoil internally. So The day represents a period when the Union Jack was first raised, the British flag was first raised in Circular Quay, and the flag still sits there today. And you can see it at Loftus Street, and it sits uncomfortably with many Australians, and particularly myself. So I spend the day usually in the morning march, where we march from Circular Quay to Victoria Park and then celebrate Yabum, which is a great musical celebration of Aboriginal culture. And I guess it's probably the closest thing to a modern corroboree that you'll find in Sydney. So I had a great day doing that. So I'd like to talk today a little bit about Aboriginal business and economic development, why it's important, what are some of the barriers to it, some of the things that I learnt as Chief Operating Officer at Gunai Kunai Land and Waters Aboriginal Corporation, some of the things that we found very helpful, and some of the things that are still barriers. So I think the first thing to acknowledge is that Aboriginal people are business people and have been for centuries, and Australia is crisscrossed with trade routes where people were trading between sovereign nations, and you can find artifacts and all kinds of things that have made their way from the top end down to Gippsland and all kinds of ways. So I think understanding that trade is in our blood, and it's just really the last couple of 100 years that we've been excluded from being able to participate in the economy like that. Participation in the economy is critical for Aboriginal people, because it's really through us generating our own wealth that we'll have the opportunity to spend and invest our wealth as we wish. Much like community resources operates social enterprises, and we operate businesses. We recycle mattresses, we run Resource Recovery Australia, we've got Soft Landing, we've got Green Connect. So we run all of these kinds of businesses, which help us also do other things like our Aboriginal wraparound services. But we get to choose what we do with our profits, because we make the money. Whereas if we're in a government grant program, then they get to choose what we do with the money. And that's very much the story for Aboriginal people. If we can generate our own money, we get to make decisions about that. So fortunately, while I was at Gippsland, we were able to implement a Gippsland Aboriginal Economic Development Strategy, which taught us quite a few things. So one of the first things that we see is it's very difficult to be something that you can't see. So there are not a lot of Aboriginal business people that are high profile. We generally don't talk about business in Aboriginal families. We don't talk about money because most of us don't have much of it. And so we don't have that language of business. So that's one barrier that we've got. The biggest barrier that continually comes up is access to capital. So even if someone's got a deadly idea, are they able to fund it? The government funding sources are very limited and to be honest, not very helpful. So one of the great things that we were able to do at Gunai Kunai was to put in place a grant program where if you had a deadly idea and you'd sit down and do a business model canvas with us, you could get up to $5,000, which in many cases for SMEs was enough to kick off their business and get them running. It might pay for a little bit of equipment or something that they need to get running. So that was a great lesson to learn. Where I see there's some opportunities, because I know that many people in the room today are business people. So I think we should talk about what the opportunities are between us. There are many deadly ideas that need capital, and they need the support of people who are good business people. So it's one thing to have a great idea, but it's quite different to execute on that idea and deliver on that idea 365 days a year. And I think within the room, there's a lot of expertise in doing that, and there's also a lot of capital. So I think that there's opportunities there. Certainly, there are a lot of government contracts that have social procurement elements to them, or social procurement requirements. and Indigenous business requirements, and there may not necessarily be Indigenous businesses that have the capital to take on some of those projects at the level. So there might be some opportunity for investment in those kind of businesses. I think generally the benefit of having cross-cultural trade means that we have people coming with things that are not necessarily like vanilla. So one of the exciting things that I saw in my international career was you'd be able to take ideas that you might pick up in Indonesia or in Mongolia and be able to apply them in completely different markets. So I think it'd be very interesting as we start this journey together, and it is a journey and it does take time and relationships. As we said, this is about people building relationships with people so that businesses can build relationships. I think that's one of the most exciting things. So so that's probably where I'll leave things, other than I will say that any of the business people in the room that have a tax problem, we're a deductible entity and we're a charity. So, so please keep us in mind at tax time. Thanks, indeed.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark, for sharing those insights and really setting that tone as an outreach as well. And just as AIBC, we want to have an outreach to the Indigenous business community. Even working myself with some of the Indigenous business groups, I have seen that there is a huge potential, and yeah, putting those ideas into action and deliverable outcomes to create impact and commercial, impact for everyone here. So definitely we'll take the cue and your offer as well, and we'll reach out to you not only for the cause but also for the social enterprise and that procurement opportunity as well you touched on. So thank you again, Mark, for sharing those insights, and we look forward to closely working with you and your organization as well as we take this journey forward. Thank you. On that note, as Indu touched on amazingly, and again, I must compliment Indu when we really discussed about that when in a chat last month over a dinner, and it was so powerful, and you really resonated and really conveyed that message so well of what it really means in terms of people-to-people connect to deliver on that business-to-business impact, the aspirations that we have at AIBC, and the cultural strong connect, which is going to play a key role. So continue on that cultural artistic journey. We heard a wonderful performance. In fact, I had goosebumps hearing that digital performance myself. We will continue the journey from an Indian perspective, a bit of a cross-genre performance from Kush and Parth. Kush Sami and Parth Rebel. Kush has been performing across all genres for past 10 years, nationally, internationally, a world of fusion, jazz, Bollywood, Indian classical music with some performance with tabla, which is one of the great percussion instruments that we have, and also who's got a strong, clear musical tone and has had several accomplishments. Kush and Parth, who's got the fusion and who's a music composer, performer, arranger, keyboard player, and loves experimenting with wide range of instruments, and he's also a technology enthusiast. So let's hear from Kush Parth, the young migrants of Indian origin, really shaping this cultural connect through this performance. Thank you, Parth and Kush, for that wonderful performance. I think it's really re-energized us as well. Again, just reflecting on this day, Republic Day, where there's a lot of showcase of music, art, and culture. The parade that happens in India, which is probably happening now as we speak in New Delhi there. Just continuing today's journey, focusing on business to business outcome, and again, with people to people connect. I want to welcome Scott Allen next to speak. Scott, again, when I met Scott, what truly inspired me was his sense of purpose. Obviously, we shared our own technology connect. Both of us come from a strong digital technology background, corporate background, and that obviously connected us. But beyond that, what has made us sustain our friendship and also business relationship is his strong purpose, that he's really there, quitting his corporate job and driving an indigenous business group to take it to the next pathways and outcomes and impact and partnerships, and someone who's still very humble and very grounded about the purpose, the strong sense of purpose as well. So definitely someone who's inspired me as well to be really really strong about creating this business pathways with indigenous business, and someone who's really leading a Nalavili group, the Pauline E. McLeod Foundation, as well as the Mandura Group, and being a director in New South Wales ICC, the Indigenous Chamber of Commerce, as well as FASI, and someone who inspires me and the rest of the community as well, from a business outcome as well, what the opportunities are. So let me welcome Scott to share your story and your passion and aspirations with the Australia-India business opportunities. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you very much, everyone. I'm not sure I can really, thank you very much. I don't know what to say, but look, I just want to acknowledge really the fact that I come to you today from the Gadigal people, and today for us is definitely Survival Day, and it's it's very much so of interest to me that it's also the Indian Republic Day celebration as well, and two such one amazing event and one not so happen on the same day, and this is what's really bringing us together today. So I'd like to, thanks very much, for that introduction. But look, my name is Scott Allen. I am a descendant of the Awabakal Worimi Nations, which is just outside of Newcastle. I'm the CEO of Mandura, the Nalavili Group, a non-executive board member for the New South Wales Indigenous Chamber of Commerce, a director of the First Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and the CEO of the Yatmatung Aboriginal Corporation. And look, through these roles, I've been able to have a lot of conversations with a lot of government bodies, large enterprises, and other First Nation businesses. And I've really begun to appreciate some of the challenges that my people face today in creating real and sustainable opportunities for our future generations. So 5 years ago, we made a real conscious decision to change the focus of the group and to really start creating businesses and partnerships that could create future-proofed opportunities, business opportunities and employment opportunities for our future generations. So since then, we have created new businesses and partnerships with tier 1 organizations that really have a similar social aspirations and goals that we do. And by doing this, what we've done is we've created an ecosystem for First Nation businesses that really removes many of the barriers of access in this conversation around balance sheet versus risk, and actually created an environment where that access is a lot simpler, and they're supported, and we support them to actually grow and flourish. And it's really created a multiplier effect across a large ecosystem of our customers, partners, and suppliers. And it generates real opportunity for not only First Nation businesses, but also First Nation employment opportunities. But the most important part to this, the flow-on effect, goes all the way through to community. You know, we've really created businesses that are commercial organizations first and First Nation businesses second. And through this commitment, we've also created commitments to the Pauline E. McLeod Foundation. To give you a bit of background, Pauline is very special to us. She was an author, a poet, a master storyteller, a director and performer. She featured at venues across Australia, including the Sydney Opera House, and also she was one of the first First Nation people to be on ABC Play School. Now, the foundation is tackling issues for First Nation peoples when it comes to mental health, entrepreneurship and education, and most importantly, the support of employment opportunities. But look, for me, the world is a changing place, and I find today more and more organizations out there wanting to make a real difference in their approach to reconciliation. And one of the key ways to do this is through partnerships with First Nation organizations like Mandora or Wink that we've created today. In order to make a real and lasting change for First Nation people, the most effective way to do this is to build meaningful relationships with Tier 1 organizations with a true social agenda, like the people here today. The challenge my people face is really a wicked problem, and there's no real solution. But for us, we have to start somewhere. And it's working with organizations like yourself and creating real and meaningful change for both our nation's peoples now and for the next generations to come. And I believe that using the people-to-people connection as an enabler for strong bilateral and business ties between our nations will create a huge opportunity working towards solving some of the challenges our people face today and creating new opportunity for our future and next generations. So I'd just like to say thank you very much for your time. I'm very privileged to be here, and thank you very much, Ephraim.
Thank you, Scott, again for those inspirational words, and we look forward to continuing this journey of close relationship and creating that business impact as well. And truly, you are a leader we look up to, and we would love to partner closely. Thank you, Scott. On that note,
thank you, everybody.
Thank you. On that note, continuing this journey, I want to invite Melanie Crosswell, representing Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. She is the Director of India Economic Section at DFACS, and she is working closely to increase the two-way trade and investment through implementation of the Australia-India Comprehensive Strategic Partnership and the India Economic Strategy. A key player in what we are working towards, the free trade agreement. A career officer with the Australian government, and her work is focused range of policy matters programs across Asia Pacific. She's also actively involved in what we are calling, Australia celebrates India's 75th year of India's independence as well. A strong advocate and supporter of India with a lot of experience in the bilateral space. So welcome, Melanie. Thank you for taking our offer and also invitation. Thank you, Melanie. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Today I'm joining you from Ngunnawal country, and I send my thanks to the AIBC for inviting me to help celebrate Australia Day, India's Republic Day, and 75 years of Indian independence. I acknowledge Jim Varghese, Ifran Malak, Nick Senapati, Indu Balakandara, and the AIBC team. Thank you so much for having me today. India is a modern, outwardly focused global power. Its marking 75 years of independence by highlighting its people, culture, and achievements. The Australian-India relationship has never been stronger and is underpinned by the comprehensive strategic partnership, which was announced by Prime Ministers Morrison and Modi in June 2020. While the global pandemic has kept us physically apart for much of the last year or so, our cooperation has never been closer. We were very pleased to welcome back Indian students who began to return to Australia in December last year. Australia and India share a vision for a resilient, inclusive, and open Indo-Pacific region, whether through the Quad, the Indian Rim Association, or through our work with partners such as ASEAN and the United Nations. Australia and India present a positive vision for the region. We did this throughout the COVID-19 crisis. India was the pharmacy to the world, producing billions of vaccines. Australia funded vaccine rollouts and delivery to the Pacific and Southeast Asia, as well as emergency assistance when India and its neighbours needed it most. And we will partner again through recovery. Australia and India are not just partners who share a love of cricket or a holiday today on the 26th of January. We share democracy, diaspora connections with more than 700,000 Indian Australians, and dosti or friendship. The fundamentals of the Australia-India economic partnership remain. In 2020, total two-way trade in goods and services between Australia and India was 24.3 billion. India is expected to be the fastest growing major economy in the near term, making it an attractive market for Australian goods and services exporters. The IMF forecast India's GDP would grow by 9.5% in 2021 and by 8.5% in 2022. Growth over the longer term is underpinned by India's sound fundamentals and continued economic reform agenda. The Australian government is working to strengthen our economic ties. Negotiations for a comprehensive economic cooperation agreement, or a CECA, are underway with the aim of concluding negotiations by the end of this year. We are also updating the India economic strategy so that we can better engage the Indian diaspora and expand links in sectors that align with our shared geostrategic interests in critical tech, critical minerals, and renewable energy. To this end, we have undertaken extensive consultation, consulting over 600 stakeholders across Australia, India, and beyond. Many of you were likely part of those consultations, and we thank you for your time and effort to do that. Prime Minister Morrison's announcement of the Australia-India Centre for Excellence for Critical and Emerging Technology Policy and plans for a new Consulate General in Bengaluru will help accelerate our technology ties with India and expand our diplomatic presence in India to 5 posts or missions. Austrade is also continuing to bring together Australian and Indian businesses through the Australia-India Business Exchange. So what does all of this mean? It's time for Australian and Indian businesses to seize the moment and to find those opportunities. With that, I wish you all a happy Dosti Day.
Thank you, Melanie. To really spark off the key essence there, the opportunities there now, and we want to seize that opportunity together, both sides, Australia, India, the businesses and Indigenous First Nations businesses all together to really deliver on that impact. So thank you, Melanie, for sharing those insights and being an active partner for us with AIBC. Thank you, and we look forward to continuing working with you. Thank you. All right, now just continuing our journey with another cultural performance, let me introduce our dance performance artist, Anita Gopi, who's going to perform a Mohiniyattam dance, which is a traditional art form from South India. She's she's been a classical dancer and under the guidance of Guru Kalamandalam Sumangala. She has performed in several venues and choreographed several dances as well, and she's recently started teaching with an academy for Mohiniyattam. She'll be performing today in Navrasanjali in Anand Bhairavi, which is the art form describing Devi as one of the radiant face compared to moon eyes deer extra and depicting the Navrasas, which is phenomenal from the artistic perspective. So over to you, Anita, for your dance performance.
Thank you. That was lovely. I haven't seen Mohiniyattam for some years now, so one never gets to see that as often as one would like. And it was really interesting to watch the symbolism in the dance to elements of nature around versus what the didgeridoo artist was doing. I always like to compare and contrast. It was really lovely. Thank you, Anita, for that. I'm really pleased to introduce our next speaker, Susan Moylan-Coombs. Susan is the founder director of Gar Marigold Group, a First Nations organization that leads social change and creates impact, particularly, I believe, through storytelling. I understand Susan has a long history in the ABC and NITV and the arts, and uses storytelling and voice to really bring individuals and communities together, particularly facilitating voice for elders and empowering Aboriginal youth to realise their full potential. Susan's a Woolwonga Gurindji woman from the Northern Territory and is part of the stolen generations of people who were removed from their parents. Welcome, Susan. I know Susan's been doing some really interesting work with textile and arts collaborations between First Nations and Indian peoples and organisations. So I'm going to hand over to Susan now.
Thank you so much for that introduction. We're on the verge of doing some nice collaborations. We haven't started them yet, but I just would like to say Warami, Nagaya Susan, Nagaya Gurindji Wawonga, Gumida Bianga, Gumida Waranga, Madamarong, Tianaga Aniga, Madamarong, Baalia, Gamaragal, Guri Pemel. So hello, I'm Susan. I'm Gurindji Wawonga. With deep honour and respect, I ask to speak to the male spirits. I ask to speak to the female spirits. to be able to walk and talk on Gumaragal land from this place that I'm coming to you from. And I acknowledge all Indigenous people on this call, and I hope that the future of the business that we do together is one where there are benefits for all. So as that lovely introduction, I'm the CEO of the Gumaragal Group, and before starting the company, I had a long-term career in broadcasting, and storytelling is really important to me, and how we can share the stories of our elders to be able to empower youth, because they are the elders for tomorrow and the future. And that's really important. I'm also a former board member of the New South Wales Indigenous Chamber of Commerce, and was really, proud of my time there. And I think that the more that we as First Nations people of this land become entrepreneurs and have the confidence to step into that space, that the world is our oyster, but also acknowledging the historical traumas of this land and the colonial past that we have. And I know that is something that we share with India. And I've had a number of trips to India, and one of the most memorable ones was because January 26th is a day of mixed emotions for me, and it is a day of trauma, and I've always hated it. And we have diverse voices and conflicted narratives, and it continues. So one of the many trips to India, we attended a peace conference, and it happened to also be on January 26th as the opening ceremony. And I had part of the opening ceremony, one of Gandhi's grandsons come up to me and say Happy Australia Day, and I was standing there going, okay, how do I explain this? I know, happy Republic Day, but for me, there's probably a bigger conversation that we need to have in terms of what Australia Day means for First Nations people, and the terminology that we have used is Survival Day. So it's been interesting, the journey that I guess we're all on, and it is a day of happiness for India, and the history that has been similar to ours, and then the pulling out of the British and India becoming the Republic, and that's fantastic. We are yet to see that here in this land. So for us, it's a day of healing. We decided to change the narrative on it. And for the last 3 years, the community here in the Northern Sydney region, some of us go to one of the beaches within the national park, and we do a day of healing. And it's been really beautiful and shifted the energy and the emotion for a lot of us as First Nations people. So I think that when we come together, not just nationally, but also globally, that there is real opportunity to create a different future and a different narrative. So the opportunities to collaborate and to share culture and our different nations' cultural expressions, I think, is something that, can really bring us together in a beautiful way. What we've seen tonight, that the song and the dance and our cultural expression through the gentleman playing the yidaki. But there are many more things that we can do in terms of how we can share in collaborations to really bring us together. And one of them is that, the stories that get told, the stories that are in the symbolism in the art, and how that can be beautiful collaborations to put onto fabric, but also, much wider than that. So when we share stories, it gives us meaning. And particularly those stories through our culture and creation stories, and both nations have that. And I think that the very old cultural expressions, that when we come together, we recognize our humanity. And I think that's what's really important. So we are the oldest living culture on the planet. We are first in time. And we are, as Australia, slowly that narrative is coming to the forefront and the truth is being told. And it's not that for us and our ancestry and our family lines, our DNA, which predates what we know as Australia, it's not that our elders and those that have come before us haven't advocated and tried to express that. And so it's, you know, our physical, our family connection to country is what keeps our spirit strong. And I think that, you know, when we can enter into respectful partnerships and collaborations, not just First Nations people to our other brothers and sisters in the other nations that make up this continent, when we can do that with other Australians, I think that there's real opportunity to do some really amazing work into the future. Because for a long time we've been in the blind spot, and there's this cognitive dissonance that happens in this country. And a lot of the work that I've done also has been about advocating for rights, making sure that people are well physically and spiritually. And we've done a lot of work in terms of the community, but also sharing that knowledge with all people in all of our communities about how our cultural principles, we want to share that. And we want to share that so as people who live here on this continent will have a better understanding, and we can break the chains of the colonial rule, and that we can have, you know, the Commonwealth understand our rights as enshrined in the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, and that's global. So it's about us understanding who we are, what our strength is, what we can do in terms of bringing that to business, because we had a traditional economy on this land before the British arrived, and we had ways of operating, and we were great business people. We were very healthy people. And I think that, you know, when we can understand the history and the fact that, and you will understand this, that Indigenous people globally underwrote colonisation. So for us, we're not a republic yet. And I'm not sure I'd advocate for a republic, but I guess that, you know, it's about allowing a respectful way of being in this world as First Nations people of this continent, and the recognition that we are first in time, and that actually means something. So I think the beauty of our countries coming together and doing business, and the fact that you have a republic, that I think there are things to learn and share together. So I wish for really beautiful collaborations into the future. I love the fact that you had the young lady sing the songs at the beginning. You know, they are our future. We need to empower the young ones. We need to share culture. We need to share principles, so then when they become adults, that they know how to do it. And you know what? They're probably going to do it better than we are. So it was very joyful to see that young lady sing those songs. And I thank you for allowing me to speak and to be a part of this. And I hope that there's some beautiful business that comes out of it for both our countries. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Susan, and for I suppose lighting some candles along what might be shared paths going forward and how that might happen. And you know, some of these conversations that our First Nations speakers have brought to the table today are a really important starting point. So thank you very much for bringing those words to this table today. We've been very lucky today. We've heard Yagara, I think Gamilaroi from our Yiraki artist. And what language did you just speak, Susan? Remind me.
My apologies. I would like to honour Professor Dennis Foley, who is the Camaragal man from this area. So he gifted me those words to say, because I'm from the stolen generation. So I was, you know, taken from my culture and language and was raised on the Sydney's Northern Beaches, which is, you know, Camaragal land of Northern Sydney. And I speak those words honouring Dennis, and it makes me feel very proud.
Wonderful. Thank you for that backstory. Very, very important. So then we move now to our next a video, actually, by the Sari Club. And I suppose in a different way, a social entrepreneur who works across countries. Purnima Menon runs the Sari Club. She's the director of Five Pleats, which was a brand created to support weavers from small villages in India. It's funny, I actually came across the Sari Club on Facebook, and I've been wondering about Purnima Menon for years, and I'm delighted that I actually get to hear and see some of the work that you're doing, Purnima, today. Purnima is also the head of people and culture at My Muscle Chef, which is a food company, so a real entrepreneur across fabric, food, and social enterprise. So can I hand over to the video and Purnima's speaking with us.
ये देश है वीर जवानों का, बेलों का, मस्तानों का, इस देश का यारो, इस देश का यारो क्या कहना, ये देश है दुनिया का कहना। मेरा जूता है जापानी, ये पतलून इंग्लिस्तानी, सर पे लाल टोपी रूसी, फिर भी दिल है हिंदुस्तानी। मेरा जूता है जापानी, ये पतलून इंग्लिस्तानी, सर पे लाल टोपी रूसी, फिर भी दिल है हिंदुस्तानी।
हर करम अपना करेंगे ऐ वतन तेरे लिए, दिल दिया है जान भी देंगे ऐ वतन तेरे
आजा आजा जिंदू शामियाने के तले, आजा जरी वाले नीले आसमान के तले। जय हो चक दे इंडिया, चक दे इंडिया। वंदे मातरम, वंदे मातरम, वंदे मातरम, वंदे मातरम। सुजलाम सुफलाम मलयज शीतलाम, सस्य श्यामला मातरम। वंदे मातरम, वंदे मातरम, वंदे मातरम, वंदे मातरम, वंदे मातरम।
ये दुनिया
एक
दुल्हन,
ये दुनिया एक दुल्हन, दुल्हन के माथे की बिंदिया। ये मेरा इंडिया, ये मेरा इंडिया, I love my India, ये मेरा इंडिया। हम लोगों को समझ सको तो समझो दिल भर जानी, जितना भी तुम समझोगे उतनी होगी हैरानी। फिर भी दिल है हिंदुस्तानी, फिर भी दिल है हिंदुस्तानी, फिर भी दिल है हिंदुस्तानी, फिर भी दिल है हिंदुस्तानी। मेरा रंग दे बसंती चोला, माए रंग दे मेरा रंग दे, बसंती चोला माए रंग दे मेरा रंग दे, बसंती चोला रंग दे, रंग दे रंग दे, बसंती चोला माए रंग दे। माँ तुझे सलाम, अम्मा तुझे सलाम, वंदे आओ बच्चों तुम्हें दिखाए झांकी हिंदुस्तान की, इस मिट्टी से तिलक करो ये धरती है बलिदान की। वंदे मातरम, वंदे मातरम, वंदे मातरम, वंदे मातरम।
देश रंगीला रंगीला, देश मेरा रंगीला,
देश रंगीला रंगीला, देश मेरा रंगीला। झंडा ऊंचा रहे हमारा, विजय विश्व तिरंगा प्यारा। सारे गुलसिता हमारा हमारा सारे जहां से अच्छा हम बुलबुले हैं इसकी ये गुलसिता हमारा हमारा सारे जहां से अच्छा
Namaste. I'm a proud Indian from the South, and I wish all my fellow Indians a very happy Republic Day. Jai Hind.
Let's all use freedom wisely and in the right spirit. A very happy Republic Day to all Indians from an Indian.
On 26 January 1950, the Constitution of Independent India came into place. Let's not forget the freedom struggle that helped achieve it. Here's wishing everyone a very happy Republic Day. Thank you.
Namaste. Thanks to all the sacrifices that we made, today we live in a free country with dignity and respect. Let's acknowledge this and remember to treat everyone with the same dignity and respect. I, a proud Bharat ki beti, wishes you all a very happy Republic Day. Namaste.
Wishing everyone a happy 72nd Republic Day from a proud Indian. Jai Hind.
Hello, my name is Neeta Vawak and I'm from Fiji Islands. I'd like to wish all my Indian friends a very happy Republic Day. Enjoy and be safe.
Happy Republic Day, homeland. Inspire the world with your democracy.
Happy Republic Day from a proud Indian. Unity in diversity is what India represents.
A very happy Republic Day to everyone.
Freedom in mind, faith in the words, pride in the hearts, and memories in the soul. Let's salute our nation on this Republic Day.
Thank you, Purnima, and the wonderful, amazing ladies with showcasing saris from all over India. Welcome, Purnima. I'm conscious we are running late, but I'll just get you for a quick note, just to share your inspiration, for the Sari Club and the message and the aspiration of bilateral opportunities in that textile segment. Purnima, over to you. If you can share a quick 1 minute, your vision, if you can share, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Irfan, for having me. And I just want to acknowledge that today I come to you from the land of the Dharwal people. You would have seen the passion that came through the messages that the ladies, and when we talk about land and how we connected to the land and India being a motherland, we are definitely connected very strongly to that. And saris are one of the ways that keeps us connected. And this Sari Club is, it's a group of ladies who are everyday working ladies, but go out of the way to make sure that we stay connected with each other. I was very, very touched by the words of Susan and also speaking about how we can promote Indigenous art between the two nations. I would just like to say, and something probably Susan would like to go and check upon, is we have an indigenous art in the state of Rajasthan, which is called Bandhani, and it's all about dots. And it looks very similar to the dot painting that the indigenous people paint. And I've had for a very, very long time had this thought about how can we bring the two together and have saris that would have this indigenous art, mix the indigenous art with the Bandhani and give it a completely different meaning. Because sari, I think it's more than a fabric, it's more than anything. It is something that ties the people of India together. And I'm sure that we can use that to tie the people of the two nations together as well. I know I have my 1 minute, and that's my quick 1 minute. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Purnima, for being an inspiration. I think it's great to see that dialogue happening here now. Thank you, Purnima, for that. Thank you. I just want to acknowledge, it's been a wonderful journey so far. I hope all of you recognize and acknowledge that. We're running late by about 10-15 minutes. I don't want to miss out on some of the amazing art and music that we've got left to go, but definitely stay tuned. We might be about 10-15 minutes late running. I want to invite Dr. G.K. Harinath next, the chairperson of Multicultural New South Wales, to to speak quickly and share his thoughts about this day, and someone who's been a veteran here across various boards, the Cricket New South Wales, Cricket Australia, and a GP practicing over 50 years, to share his thoughts and message to the youth and the Australia-India bilateral opportunities. Over to you, Dr. Harinath.
It's a pleasure to be a part of India Republic Day, and I thank the AIBC and Mr. Irfan Malik in inviting me to share my views with the guests. I think I have a unique opportunity to do that, because I've been not only in Australia for the past 50 years, but in my role as a GP, I was closely associated with, I'm still closely associated with the community and the diaspora of both India and Australia. And in my other role in cricket, as on the cricket board for a long time, and as a cricket administrator, also I was involved with the administrations of both the Australian and Indian diaspora. It only gives me a bit of insight into how the businesses work, how the community works, and how the community ticks, and how the community thinks and acts on different issues. And this is what, in any bilateral relationship, apart from the government-to-government relationship, the diaspora's relationship is very important, because diaspora is the one who built bridges between the two countries. As you know, the bridge between Sydney, between the North Sydney and the rest of the thing, is bridged by the Sydney Harbour Bridge. Same as the diaspora of India can have that idea in mind to bridge that bridge between Australia and India, so that the government of both the countries can travel through and fro and establish those business relationships, which is very essential for the progress of the nation. And this is what the AIBC has been trying. And I laud the effort of the AIBC for doing these connections. They're trying their best to help the government of both the countries, from here in Australia as well as in India. And that's the essential. That's what is pleasing sight to see for me in my 50 years, to which, when I go back in 70s, there was absolutely no relationship between the two countries. Right? I just want to narrate a little story. In those days, if you came here and if you always wanted to have some different kind of food, and say if you wanted to have a Chinese food, so you go to a restaurant, it says Australian and Chinese meals served. He said, oh, can we have some sort of a nice rice and some hot dish? Yeah, the rice bowl used to come, boiled rice, and the vegetable dish will be bok choy. If you wanted hot dish, he will plonk a bottle of chili sauce on the table. So from that era to era we have come now, it is not the finest variety of the Indian cuisine, but the finest variety of the cuisines of the world are available at our fingertips. And this is the change, what we've seen. I mentioned the food because when we compare that to the people who have come from India, and how the Indians have settled, and how the Indians have grown as a part of the Australian community, it's fantastic to see. And I am really very pleased to see the younger generation of Indian origin people are doing so well. And I'm sure they will be the leaders in a couple of years' time, and the way they are working it. And they are a key to build the Australia-India relationship. And Australia celebrates their Australia Day on 26 January, so as India celebrates the Republic Day on the 26th January. So it's an Australia National Day and India's Republic Day. And it's ironic, isn't it, that is India and Australia have national days on the same day. And see, if we think alike, we act alike. If we act alike, we live alike. And I think that is the relation we have got to build between the two countries. And very soon, we hope that the business relationship, the free trade agreement between the two countries has got to be signed, and India has got to play a big part in doing this. So as Australia, well, no one country can do with one hand, as both the countries can come with each hand and clasp together and establish that free trade relationship, which is essential for both the countries. And I really laud the young Indian diaspora for being a part of that and doing so much work. I mean, without these kind thoughts, I want to wish all the Indians a happy Republic Day, and all Australians a happy Australia Day. And I hope Australia and India will thrive, prosper, and live for a long time in building good relations. Thank you, and thank you, Irfan.
Thank you very much for that speech and for encouraging these collaborations to persist and take shapes that the AIBC really aspires to. That was our last kind of final part of the program. We have a piece of music which we'll play after the vote of thanks, and we encourage all of you to stay on and listen or leave it on as you go on to your whatever it is you're doing next. I'd like to just remind everyone that we have a competition at the end of today. We'll send you all the details. We have your details after you've registered. And it's really a competition to encourage all of you to share with us your reflection on today and what opportunities you think might have come to your mind from listening to the various speakers today and thinking about the Republic Day, Australia Day, Survival Day nexus and what might come off it for organisations that are interested in the work of the Australia-India Business Council. I'd like to now invite Nick Sen up to do our vote of thanks. Nick has been a central part of this, curating this event as the president of the AIBC Queensland chapter. He's the honorary advisor to FICCI in Australia and also holds a number of consulting advisory positions in India. He was the country head of Rio Tinto in India that he held for almost 10 years. He's a geologist and has a long history in the mining sector and in strategic leadership. Nick was educated in India and was a Rhodes Scholar in the UK. Welcome, Nick.
Thank you very much. And thank you first to all the participants, all the people who attended. We had a great audience, and thank you very much for coming in and listening to this. We are sorry we couldn't have an actual physical event, and we had to convert it to a virtual one, but we have been able to link across the country by doing so. I'd first like to, there are a number of people to thank, and I won't go through all of them in the time that we have, but I would like to thank Steve Coggle for welcoming us at the beginning and giving the Indigenous perspective, which was again added to by the Kumaroi and Susan's message and the other Indigenous business leaders also added to those messages, and I think it added a great perspective to this event. I would like to thank Janaki for the wonderful rendition of the anthems at the beginning, but also to all the music performances that we saw. What amazing talent we have in Australia. And the cross-cultural connect stands out more and more as we go forward. I'd like to thank the National Australia Day Council for coming together and helping us put this event on, and particularly to Manjeet Singh, who was the person who brought us to the Australia Day Council. So thank you very much. I'd like to thank all the other speakers, and I won't go through all the names. And there were many important messages that we got from them, and a many number of bilateral opportunities that each one highlighted. What great messages about trade, and as Mark Higgins and Scott Allen talked about, the Indigenous people have been trading for centuries but have been excluded for the last 200 years, and what an opportunity for AIBC to step in and take that opportunity of linking and enhancing that trade. I'd also like to thank the obviously the IMDU Irfan and I've already Manjeet Singh for us as a team organizing this, but also what a great bit of teamwork between New South Wales AIBC, Queensland AIBC, and the national group working together to put this on. And in that, we have a secretariat that stretches over that group. And so I would like to thank Wendy, Farrell, Kritika, Sam, and Vishal for the amazing amount of work he's put into bringing this on very quickly to a virtual event through working his magic on the technologies. Lastly, I'd like to just say that as many people, the government speakers and business speakers have said, here are two democracies. We believe in many common values. And I think the message of reflect, respect, and celebrate, and bringing the people-to-people contact together. And it was Ambedkar in the chairing of the Constitutional Committee when he wrote the Constitution that drew heavily on the Australian Constitution. And I think that in itself says a lot, that we can work together in the bilateral trade. So thank you very much to everybody, and thank you very much to the attendees for listening in. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nick, again. And I just want to close out on some of the events which are coming up at AIBC in the next weeks and months. We've got the AIBC Victoria Business Awards 2021. So the entries close on 14th Feb, so stay tuned and please check out the link. We've got the Agri-Business Chapter virtual event on emerging opportunities and challenges in biosecurity and tariffs. Very important piece. Stay tuned for that on the 10th of February. Moving on, the AIBC Defense and Security Chapter Defense Industry Briefing. Very important, significant event coming up on the 23rd of February. Stay tuned for the dates, and you'll get further updates in February. This is being planned. And in March, in New South Wales, with Make in India chapter, we are focusing on shaping the future of renewable energy, renewable tech, EV, and hydrogen-led economy. Stay tuned for that. With some amazing impact story we are going to curate and create on that 16th of March. So please stay tuned, and we look forward to working closely with all the business groups, all of you who have attended today, and all our partners in government, industry bodies, all of you. We look forward to creating an impactful outcome and really, creating that impact from that team that we have, people to people connect, to enable and facilitate business to business impact. So thank you for that. Thank you for staying with us, and stay tuned for this amazing confluence music of Australia, India, musical confluence with a guest performance. And I want to especially thank the Consul General of India's Sydney office and Vivekananda Kendra and Mr. Ramanand as well, who's really supported. It's an amazing piece of music. Please stay tuned and enjoy your rest of evening. And as we wrap up on that note, please enjoy this confluence of Australia, India music that's been specially brought together. And please do enjoy this and some amazing artists who are behind curating this music as well. So please stay tuned and enjoy this music. Thank you, and have a lovely evening, and look forward to staying connected. Thank you. Namaskar. Vishal, over to you for the music. Thank you to the Sursagar team, the Confluence of Rhythm, and amazing artists being featured there, presented by Consul General of India, Sydney, and Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center in Sydney here, and an enormous contribution. And also thank Ramanand Kharge for providing this video to us. It's a phenomenal rendition. And the end, we had Vande Mataram, which inspired the nation as India, and one of the favorite songs and poem of that, which was revered by even Mahatma Gandhi ji, which was a true tribute to our homeland. Mother, I Bow to Thee, which was written by Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay. So thank you again. Hope you all enjoyed the evening. We're going to open up to everyone to share their views, and of course there'll be a link to the contest. We'll be sharing and for you to contribute to really help us together curate this shared Australia-India shared vision of a story together to create that people-to-people impact and connect for business-to-business outcomes. So please do share your views, thoughts, and I think we're going to unmute everyone if at all you want to share any views or thoughts now, or definitely we'll look forward to staying connected and through the digital channel as well. Thank you all and have a lovely evening. Thank you, Mark, Susan, Scott, for coming and being part of this historic occasion. I think this is the first, one of the first where we really wanted to have our outreach to the Indigenous community and business groups as well. So thank you for that. And Indu, again, being a wonderful facilitator for this cause. Thank you, Indu. And all the committee teams, both in Queensland and New South Wales, and the national teams. Thank you. Thank you, and we'll wrap up in the next minute or two. Thank you, and yeah, anyone, if you want to have a last a few words, over to you all. Anyone of you can unmute. I can see Mala Mehtaji there. Not sure if Shiba is there. I know she's in India. Con, any one of you, Javed, any one of you, if you want to have a last few words. Mark, I can see you unmuted.
Yeah, look, everyone, I'd just like to say congratulations. That was a really outstanding event to bring together in a virtual world. To be honest, when I heard that due to COVID, this is going to be virtual, I thought, oh no, you know, these virtual events, they're just like, many times they're painful, but that was really exciting. It certainly got my mind thinking. You know, I have done some business in the fast moving consumer space in India before with Dabur, and just the size of business in India is really difficult, I think, for many people to understand. But I think through building relationships and linking people, I think that there's an enormous amount of opportunity for commerce between Indigenous businesses and India. So thank you very much for inviting me along today.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. Wonderful words there. And definitely we want to see AIBC as a strong ally and a partner, a trusted partner to enable those pathways as well. So thank you for that, Mark.
Thanks, Irfan. I was just going to encourage people to share their views on the chat if they prefer rather than speaking. Sorry, Kritika, back to you.
No, you're right. I was just saying, I think this was one of the great events between NSW and Queensland and India and Australia. I think this is one of a kind. Thank you, everybody, for being part of it.
Thank you. Thank you all, and we'll wrap up on that note. Have a lovely evening. Namaskar, stay safe, and hopefully we'll meet in person very soon. Thank you.
Namaste, everyone.
Namaste. Great.